there are people that come into your life, and I believe that God allows people to be in one's life for a season. And we lost several over the weekend, real icons and giants and cornerstones in our community. Richard Blades, Mr. Newberry, and others, and their death announcements and obituaries are this morning, all brought to you by Curtis & Son Funeral Home, the North Chapel on Highway 21 in Sylacauga, and the Childersburg Chapel on Highway 280 in Childersburg. 256-245-4361, Curtis & Son Funeral Home, Sylacauga, Childersburg. Mrs. Faye McClenny, age 87 of Rockford, died January the 7th in Birmingham. Funeral arrangements to be announced by Curtis & Son Funeral Home, North Chapel. Funeral service for Mrs. Martha Ann Alexander, age 78 of Harpersville. The memorial service will be held today at 1 p.m. from Arkwright Baptist Church in Vincent, with burial in the Vincent Cemetery. Online condolences at Curtis & Son Funeral Home, Childersburg Chapel. Curtis & Son Funeral Home, Childersburg Chapel, directing that service. Funeral service for Mary Franklin Matchin, age 87. That service will be today at noon from the Childersburg Chapel of Curtis & Son Funeral Home, with burial in the Tallahatchie Cemetery. Visitation today prior to the service from 11 until 12. Ms. Matchin was a member of the Sycamore Baptist Church. She passed away January the 8th at the age of 87 at Legacy Health and Rehab. Online condolences at curtisonfunerals.com. Curtis & Son Funeral Home, Childersburg Chapel, directing. Mrs. Alicia D. Gill, age 61 of Childersburg, died Saturday at her residence. Funeral arrangements are pending. They'll be announced later today by Curtis & Son Funeral Home. Mr. Gerald D. Turney, age 89 of Sylacauga, died January the 8th at Tuscaloosa Veterans Medical Center. Funeral service will be Tuesday at 3 o'clock from Curtis & Son North, with the Reverend Jim Shaw officiating. Burial in the Weguffka Methodist Cemetery. Visitation will be tonight at the North Chapel from 5:30 until 8 p.m. Online condolences at curtisonfh.com. Curtis & Son Funeral Home, North Chapel, directing. In other obituary news, after a difficult battle with ALS, Richard Blades of Sylacauga died on Saturday. Visitation for Mr. Blades will be this evening at 5 p.m. from Radley Smith Funeral Home Chapel. Burial on Tuesday, a funeral service on Tuesday at 2 p.m. from Radley Smith, with the Reverends Tommy Thornton and Jim Shaw officiating. Interment in the Evergreen Cemetery in Sylacauga. Of course, many of you knew Richard. He was a well-respected businessman in Sylacauga for many years, over 60 years. He worked at the cash store early on in his career and started A&M Clothing on Norton in downtown Sylacauga. And for over 40 years, he and his family have made A&M a cornerstone, the Sylacauga business community. Richard Blades was a good man. He will be missed by so many. Our condolences to his wife, Betty Culver Blades, Richard's high school sweetheart for 57 years. Mr. Blades was a member of the Unity Presbyterian Church of PCA in Weguffka, and he was previously a longtime member of the First Presbyterian Church in Sylacauga, where he served as a deacon and chairman of the property committee. In memory of Richard's generous spirit, the family asks that contributions be made to a charity of one's choice. That visitation for Mr. Richard Blades will be today, 5 o'clock, from the chapel of Radley Smith Funeral Home. Funeral service on Tuesday, also from Radley Smith, beginning at 2 p.m. Interment in the Evergreen Cemetery. Radley Smith Funeral Home directing. Visitation for Mr. John R. Newberry, We'll be at First United Methodist Church on Tuesday from 1 until 2 o'clock. Funeral service on Tuesday at 2 p.m. Burial in the Evergreen Cemetery. Mr. Newberry died on Saturday. And Radley Smith Funeral Home in Sylacauga directing. Funeral service for Andrew Miles Blair, age 33, of Sylacauga, will be Tuesday at 2 p.m. from the sanctuary on Highway 280, with the Reverends Freddie Edwards and Patrick Harris officiating. Burial in the Evergreen Cemetery in Sylacauga. Mr. Blair died Saturday, January 9th, from injuries he suffered in an automobile accident. He is a graduate of Fayetteville High School, class of 2000. He's a graduate of Auburn University in 2005. And he was in his 10th year of teaching and served as a head baseball coach at Central of Coosa County, and currently the head baseball coach at Talladega High School. Visitation will be 12:30 until 2 p.m. on Tuesday at the sanctuary. Memorial messages may be sent to the family at radleysmith.com. Radley Smith Funeral Home in Sylacauga directing that service. That's a look at obituaries this morning, brought to you by Courteous & Son Funeral Home, Sylacauga, Childersburg. Footnote to Richard Blades' passing. I knew Richard Blades for many, many, many years. I knew him when he worked at the cash store with my aunt, Jackie Shockley. Richard Blades was who this obituary says he was. And Richard Blades is one of those rarities that preached his own funeral with the life that he led before so many. Richard Blades, my friend, you'll be missed. Betty, we pray for you and your family and ask that God's hand be upon you and the kids and grandkids and great-grandkids. And when we lose someone like Richard or Mr. Newberry or Mr. Turney or any of these others, it's just a place in people's hearts that will forever be void. Our thoughts and prayers are with all these families this morning. Obituaries presented by Courteous & Son Funeral Home, Sylacauga, Childersburg.